So the Summer Games Fest showcase thing happened, and I wanted to give my thoughts on it. I wanted to do a quick video. I streamed all the stuff, but I just wanted to get the stuff into a video, kind of condensing what I thought about these things. I'm not gonna go into every single game that got announced because that would be ridiculous. This video would be like 2 hours long. I definitely don't want to do that. So I'm just gonna go over my overall thoughts on the conferences as a whole. I'm gonna go over three. I didn't watch the Sony one because I don't own a PlayStation, but I'm gonna go over. I watched the Summer Game Showcase, the Microsoft one, and the PC Game Show that PC Gamer did, and I'm just gonna give my overall thoughts. Overall, I thought the whole thing was just kind of middling. It wasn't horrible. I don't want to say it was atrocious because there were some games that were announced that are actually pretty cool. And there was a good variety of games, but the problem, at least for me personally, because this is all subjective, a lot of the games that they announced that I like don't have release dates, or they're just way off into the future, so I'm not going to be able to get excited for them for a while. Don't like to get excited for games that are more than like a year out, even more than like a couple months out, because you're just setting yourself up for disappointment when you hype yourself up for that long for something. It's never going to live up to expectations doing that. So, but that being said, there were some games that they showed that were pretty cool in all three showcases. I think the Microsoft one was the best out of all three. I don't want to say they're bad because there were some things that were good in them, but one of my main problems that I had is the whole structure of it. Like, the structure of it sucks, especially in the Summer Game Showcase where it really was showing its flaws, because it's just a rapid fire of like a bunch of indie games. And I don't have a problem with indie games. The problem isn't that they're indie games. The problem is they give these indie games like between like 30 seconds to a minute and a half to showcase the game. That's not enough time. Like, they don't show shit about it. And some of that's the trailer, because you have to design a trailer that's short that actually is memorable and makes your game stand out. But at the same time, like, they didn't really give any spotlight to any of this shit. Like, they didn't have any sit down sections that I remember. Like, thinking back, especially at least in the Summer Games Fest, they didn't have any sit down sections where, like, all right, let's go in depth to these games or this game and talk to the developers, or say more about it and actually like explain what some of these fucking games were. Especially because half of these fucking trailers were just like pre-rendered CGI nonsense. They weren't even like actual gameplay. They were just like videos. Pre-rendered bullshit. Who the fuck is gonna get excited over pre-rendered crap? I mean, obviously some people do, apparently, because they keep doing it, and it wasn't every game, but like there was a lot of pre-rendered nonsense, man. And I do think there were a lot of games that were highlighted that probably shouldn't have been, that don't really deserve a spotlight. There was a Game Mill game. There was a bunch of gacha bullshit. And there was a lack of real big announcements. A lot of the games that people were expecting, at least in some of these showcases, weren't there. The biggest one, I guess, is RE6. But again, Resident Evil 6, that doesn't have a release date. That was just like, hey, we're making the game. We already know that it was coming at some point. I mean, who didn't think that they were going to make another Resident Evil game? Come on. Just like with Microsoft ending their show with Black Ops 7 or whatever the fuck it is now. Like, and I say this as a fan of Black Ops, who's been a fan of Black Ops since the first one released in 2012. Fan of this series for a long time, who's played almost every game. We already knew Black Ops was coming. Like, that's not really a big reveal. Like, oh man, Black Ops 7. Like, yeah, of course we're getting Black Ops 7. Like, who didn't think we were getting that? Oh yeah, it's just like with Resident Evil. It's the same thing. We knew we were getting a Resident Evil 9 at some point. We knew we were getting a Black Ops 7 at some point. It's not really an unveil. Yeah, just overall, just a lack of big announcements. Like I said, those were probably the biggest ones. I'm going to go game by game. Some of the really cool ones that I liked or had stuff to say about, because it wasn't completely absent. I know I've been negative in this video, but there was some cool stuff announced, despite the showcases themselves being somewhat lackluster in my opinion. I'll go into some of them. Like I said, I'm not gonna go into every single fucking release because I would be here for 2 hours. I do not want to make this video 2 hours. And a lot of these games I just don't have anything to say about. So, Atomic Heart 2. Now, I didn't know that this game was really popular enough to get a sequel. When it came out, it seemed like a lot of the people that played it didn't really like it. I played it when it came out. I played quite a bit of it. I didn't end up beating it, but I did play enough of it to form a solid opinion on it. It really is kind of a fascinating game to me because it's a game that kind of shoots itself in the foot at every step, even though it's stepping towards something good. There are parts in the game that are really fun. Like the gameplay, the gunplay in general is fun. Problem with the game that I found is for every good thing it does like 2 or 3 things that make the good thing not as good or just make the whole thing worse. Like the gunplay, the guns feel fun to shoot, and like the damage modeling is fun when you shoot a robot. Like you can see the holes that you're shooting in the robots. So the damage modeling is cool, but they're just fucking bullet spongy as all fuck at anything higher than easy difficulty, which isn't satisfying when you have to fucking pump 2 rounds into a fucking robot to kill it. Like they had this open world that was really cool with like this weird art deco thing and this unique world that was fun to explore and learn about in theory, but then they had these fucking annoying ass cameras with these bullet sponge enemies that would spawn every fucking 5 feet that were annoying as fuck to deal with. That made it so you didn't even want to fucking explore the world because it was just a pain in the ass because you'd have constant bullet sponging enemies up your ass. It's shit like that, man. The fucking, and the writing was terrible. I think the main plot was decent. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's predictable. I saw it was coming. Even it was kind of predictable. Yeah, the characters were just super unlikable. I think the only character that was even somewhat likable was the grandma character. I thought, even though she's kind of a stereotype and cliche, everyone else was just kind of unlikable and shitty. It was a game that I wanted to like a lot more than I did. The boss fights were pretty good, I found. Even though those were kind of bullet spongy too, that's the one scenario where it kind of makes sense for them to be bullet spongy because they're bosses. I mean, there's definite room for improvement if they're making a sequel. Like I said, I didn't think it was popular enough to get one, but I guess it was. They definitely get a new writing team because the writing was bad. Fix the problem with the open world where it's not even fun to explore because there's enemies that constantly spawn up your ass, and you have to like stealth around, but the stealth system is kind of shitty. So it barely works half the time, so you're just relying on blind luck for shit not to actually work the way it's supposed to. If they tighten that shit up, it could be a fun game. Like I said, the gunplay was fun if the enemies weren't as bullet spongy as they were. The world was fun to explore when you weren't dealing with enemies fucking spawning up your asshole. Hey, if they fucking fix that shit and they actually could make a good game, so we'll see. I mean, they're making it, so see if they actually learned from the mistakes that they made, because they got a lot of criticism for that first one. I know that they did. They got another Cube MMO thing that's in relation to it, too. I guess they're really trying to kickstart this universe, so it's something to keep an eye out. I really don't like MMOs at all, but they're definitely putting effort into trying to jumpstart this, whatever they want to call the Atomic Universe, or whatever the fuck they end up calling it. So, next game I wanted to talk about was another game that doesn't have a release date, which is kind of a common thread in the games that they talked about that I was actually excited for, that were shown or talked about or whatever in these showcases, is Ill. I don't know who's making this game, but this game looks really twisted and fucked up. So it's like the exact kind of fucking game that I would want to play if I wanted to play a horror game. I love horror games. The problem I have with a lot of horror games is they do that thing where they leave you completely defenseless and you just have to run and hide. That shit gives me an anxiety attack. I can't play that shit. I kind of like the games that give you at least some way to defend yourself. It kind of takes more talent to make that kind of a horror game because you can't rely on just people chasing you down and the panic of trying to find somewhere to run to, you know? You have to actually be more creative with how you continue to scare the player throughout the entire runtime. But that's just my opinion. Again, I'm not saying that, you know, those games like fucking Amnesia and Outlast and all those other ones that disarm you and just leave you completely defenseless suck. I do appreciate games that give you some level of defense, that let me play them without having a complete fucking panic attack when I try. And this game looks fun, dude. This game looks sick and twisted, dude. But the problem is there's no release date. There's nothing about it. Just, hey, this is being worked on. Which, I mean, it got my attention. You know, I guess it got the name out there, but I'm not going to get excited for it when there's no release date. As cool as it looks, there's only a few brief snippets of gameplay, and I got burned by Callisto Protocol, so, because that game looked fucking awesome in the trailers and all the way up until release, and it ended up being a bomb. So it's hard for me to get excited about horror games nowadays, even though I do love playing them. But regardless, this looks good, even though there's no release date. I definitely would be interested in playing it whenever it comes out. We'll talk about Resident Evil 9, I guess. Not to say much about it, because they didn't show much. I just wanted to put a brief affidavit here that these games really, I talked about horror games. I like the ones that don't disarm you and give you a way to fight back. So you think I would love the Resident Evil games, and I just don't. I know it seems like I should be into these games given what I just said about horror games and, you know, the ones that actually let you defend yourself and stuff, but I'm not. For reasons that I won't get into in this video because they're not really relevant. We kind of already knew this was coming at some point. It's not like they showed a release date or even like a release window, so I mean, I guess it's something. I'm not gonna discount that. Again, I'm not into these games. I've never played one, but for those of you who have played these games forever, it's one of the biggest fucking game franchises. I know that it's there, and so I felt the need to at least mention it. Now I had a bunch more games listed for my Summer Games Fest list, but again, a lot of these are games that I can't even remember because they have like minute and a half long trailers, and it's hard to make your game stand out when it's just a fucking flash flood of bullshit like that. So, you know, there's some games here like Infinitesimals, which is just a Grounded ripoff. Arc Raider, which I don't even know what that was. There's a Dying Light expansion. There's some Mansion Mystery Murder thing, which is like some party game, I guess. All of these fucking games that just had minute and a half long trailers that barely showed shit, and you didn't know anything about it, and then you gotta fucking Google the game after the fucking trailer, or after the showcase to find out more about it. It's just bullshit, man. Next up, the next one I wanted to talk about was the Expanse game, and I'm probably gonna have an unpopular opinion on this. It's my opinion, and I had stuff to say about it. It's what this channel's for. I wanted to say something. Because Owlcat, which is the people making this, is probably one of my, well, not probably, they are one of my favorite video game developers. Debatably my favorite game developer. They made definitely my favorite CRPG of all time with Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. And they made debatably one of my favorite RPG of all time. Like, it's either that or Mass Effect. They're kind of neck and neck as to which one I like more. It depends on what day you ask me. Like, that's how much I actually adore, like, this company and the shit that they do and a lot of the games. Like, because to say that they made debatably the best RPG I've ever played is saying quite a fucking lot. Because I played a fucking lot of RPGs. So I adore their shit. Actually, no, they haven't released a game yet that I haven't liked. One of their games is one of my favorite games of all time, period. And the other ones are just fantastic games in their own right. Now, I know they're working on Dark Heresy. We won't get into that because that's its own thing. And I have my own opinions on, but that wasn't in this showcase, so we'll move on from that. They're moving on from making a CRPG. They're making more game with like more. It's still an RPG, but it has more production value. They're moving away from the CRPG and the top-down stuff. Larian did this debatably with Baldur's Gate 3, even though that's still technically top-down, but you can zoom in the camera, and when you talk to people, the camera zooms in, and the production value is better than most CRPGs, and all that shit. Apparently Owlcat is doing that now too. Now, I'm all for this. However, I can't lie and say that I'm not at least a little bit disappointed in this announcement. I do not like hard fiction. I really do not like hard fiction. It's why I didn't play Kingdom Come 2 or the first one. I like my fiction to be fantastical. That's just what I like, and the hard fiction bores the fucking shit out of me. It's why I didn't play Kingdom Come and Kingdom Come 2, despite those ticking all the boxes for games I like. RPG, check. Focus on immersive world building and feeling like an actual living, breathing world, check. Focus on actually like feeling part of that world in the sense you have to survive and eat and sleep and stuff. I love and adore all that shit. Medieval Bohemia bores the fuck out of me. I can't stand hard fantasy. I can't stand hard sci-fi. It bores the fucking shit out of me. Hard sci-fi that has nothing but fucking boring ass humans in one solar system bores the fuck out of me. It's not as bad as like hard fantasy, but can't lie and say that I'm not at least a little disappointed. Now, they're still making Dark Heresy, so they're still making at least one game I'm looking forward to play. I don't know if I'm going to play this, honestly. It would have to really impress me. The setting bores the shit out of me. I haven't read the books or watched the TV show this is based on because I don't like hard sci-fi, so I have no interest in that. Even though I have absolutely zero interest in this game, and I probably won't play it unless it's on like a deep sale or something, or it gets such astronomically high reviews that I'm curious and I have to play it. I'm glad that they're making the next step and they're making a name for themselves and they're growing as a company to kind of take the place. People compare this to Mass Effect, which again, that I know I might get hate for this, is honestly kind of insulting to me as a lifelong Mass Effect fan, because the Mass Effect games are not hard sci-fi. There's alien races and there's like political intrigue and there's a whole bunch of shit that you can do that you can't do with hard sci-fi, which is why I don't like hard sci-fi. So it's not really similar. It might be similar in aesthetics or vibes or whatever, but it's not. And it annoys me when people try to compare them. You know, it's not the same, but I am glad to see this company as being one of my favorite companies, debatably my favorite company in gaming today, kind of making that next step and kind of getting a broader appeal, because I know as much as I adore CRPGs, I know not a lot of people do, and I know it's kind of a niche audience, and it's kind of hard to grow when that's all you make. So I'm glad to see them making the next step, even though I have no interest in this game they're making. They are still making something I'm interested in the new Warhammer game. So next up, Clockwork, the new game by inXile Entertainment. I did just say I love CRPGs. So these guys have definitely made some shit that I've absolutely adored. Wasteland 3 is underrated as all fuck. Again, because it's a CRPG, so the genre's kind of niche. But as far as CRPGs go, it's one of the better ones I've played, for sure. That definitely in one of the top tier. I wouldn't say it's, you know, amongst the best that I've played, but I've played a lot of CRPGs. It's still amongst the better ones. I would say in the top quarter of the ones that I've played. The only thing I didn't like about it is kind of how it did companions, and the companions were kind of shallow. Whatever, that's Wasteland 3. We won't get into Wasteland 3, but suffice it to say, Wasteland 3 is underrated as shit and is definitely a really good game. So I didn't know that what they were working on. I do now. This game looks awesome. Like, this game looks absolutely amazing. Like, everything, it's an RPG. Again, almost everything I like in a game, it has. It's an RPG. It has create a character with like stats, so you can like presumably have different builds and have like different perks and stuff that you could unlock, and that would play into different play styles and add to replayability, because you could have different, just everything I want in an RPG. This game has. There's like this really cool like alternate 1800. It looks like BioShock Infinite, kind of. Like, it looks like if you took BioShock Infinite and you set an RPG in that world, and it's more of a focus on like automatons and robots. Really cool. There's no release date, again, which is a common thing with most of the games they showed that I actually have an interest in. But dude, I'm excited for this. This looks fucking cool, and they've shown that they have chops with Wasteland 3. They know how to make a good RPG. I trust them at least as far as writing goes. Wasteland 3 was kind of weak as far as companion writing goes, but the main plot of that game was fantastic, and like the way that they played on there being different factions and you having to help out different factions, which changed what ending you got, and different things that would happen. Like, the way they did choice and consequence, at least in Wasteland 3, was awesome. They definitely know what they're doing as far as RPG systems go. This game looks like just a unique setting, and even though it is kind of BioShock Infinite-y, but BioShock Infinite was a cool setting, so I can't really fault them on that. And it is a little bit, they have their own unique spin on it, I suppose. So definitely probably my favorite game that was shown in this showcase. Definitely the one that I would be most excited for if I knew a release date and it wasn't 2 years off, but it probably is. This is probably the one they should have ended on, honestly, but they didn't. Next I want to mention Meat Boy 3D. This is and this caught my attention because Super Meat Boy is actually, I would say it's underrated, because it definitely gets high praise. It's definitely awesome, right? I usually don't like the type of rage platformer genre that Super Meat Boy was kind of part of. But I like Super Meat Boy because the way it was designed, where you immediately respawn, so it just kind of, it was easy to restart, and the levels weren't obnoxiously long, at least until the end. Just a really fun game. I had a lot of fun playing this game. It's been a long time, and seeing this trailer made me want to go back and replay through this game again, just because it's been so long, and it really is a fantastic game. It's simple, You know, there's not a lot to it. You avoid the buzzsaws, complete the level, but it's fun. Sometimes that's all a game needs to be. I don't know if this is like a remake, like a 3D remake, or if it's an entirely new game. I guess we'll find out, but definitely something I'll probably play this on release because I really like the first one, and it definitely made me want to go back and play the first one, even though I know the original team has nothing to do with this and it's a whole thing. I know that before you comment in. I know. You know, it might be good, and it reminded me Super Meat Boy exists, and maybe I should go replay it, because it's probably been almost 10 years since I have, so. Next up, they have an Invincible fighting game. It's getting a lot of hate on Reddit for some reason. I would say I'm a massive Invincible fanboy. I watch the show. I really like the show, actually. I will say, I didn't even put this in my head. This is actually a genius idea, and I thought this was done by the Mortal Kombat guys, especially because of the way that they, like, clashed in the beginning of the fight. That's literally ripped straight from Mortal Kombat and Injustice, so I thought this was the same team. I thought this was NetherRealm, but apparently not. This is done by a different crew. They did the Killer Instinct game. I never played it. I'm not usually big on fighting games outside of Mortal Kombat, and that's just because I kind of grew up with Mortal Kombat, so there's kind of a nostalgia thing there. I will say this is a genius idea, like, because Invincible itself is really bloody and gory and kind of brutal, so it makes sense to have that kind of fighting style of, like, getting bloody and fucked up, and it kind of makes perfect sense. It's like a match made in heaven to have this kind of game with this franchise. So I know people were talking shit on it. They said it looked like shit. I don't know when it's releasing. They have time to, you know, clean up the animation or whatever before release, but I didn't think it looked that bad. It didn't look as good as the animation from the show, admittedly, but that's, I mean, come on, dude, that's unreasonable expectations. You can't expect it to look that good. Animation in the show kind of sucks too for 99% of it. They just showed the one part of the show that actually has, like, really good animation. Probably not the best idea to have a direct comparison, but hey, it is what it is. Definitely a good idea. Could be interesting. We'll see. They had the new Blooper horror game, and I don't know what... Again, I just have it as Blooper horror game on my list. I don't know the name of it because I'm stupid and I don't want to look it up right this second. But I'm always into more horror games that give you a gun and actually let you fight shit. So, look, this looks good. I don't want to get too excited for it because, again, Callisto Protocol exists and that game burned me. That game's a bomb, but that game looked awesome up till release. I have kind of a weird relationship with them because, like, again, I don't typically like the Layers of Fear games that they made because they're just walking simulators with scary shit happening. I didn't even play Layers of Fear 2 because I played the first one. I realized that's what it was, and it was just kind of, you know. But then they made the Silent Hill 2 remake last year, and that was one of my favorite games to come out last year. That was actually probably my second favorite game that I played last year. If it wasn't for Space Marine 2, it would have been my first favorite game. I still might even like it more than Space Marine 2. It kind of goes back and forth. They did a fantastic job with that. But the thing is, most of the things in Silent Hill 2 that I really liked was shit that was in the original game. Because the best parts of the remake of Silent Hill 2 were in the original Silent Hill 2, and they just ripped it off. Like, the atmosphere, the writing, like, they just ripped the script off, which is fine. You know, the script is good enough that you don't need to make massive sweeping changes to it. You know, they updated the voice acting, which I think was really good. I think is actually better than the original. I know, sue me. I know the defense people make for the original and why it's bad, and it does kind of work for that game more than others because of the idea and the concept and stuff. But I still kind of like the new voice acting better. I'm sorry. Again, outside of, like, the voice acting, a lot of the new stuff, which is like the combat and the actual gameplay, was not that great. I mean, it wasn't bad, it wasn't terrible, but it was just kind of serviceable. The camera kind of sucked, and it kind of fucked you over at certain points. You know, sometimes you would, like, be on one enemy, and then you just swing to another enemy wildly because there was no lock-on feature. So it wasn't bad. It worked because the game usually didn't throw more than, like, 2 enemies at you at once, but in the rare instances that it did, it was annoying. At least, especially in, like, tight-ass rooms. And the game did tend to drag. And again, a lot of that is stuff that they did. They extended some of the stuff and made it longer. And the combat, that's all new, and that's stuff they did. Again, the rest of it, which is the best parts of Silent Hill 2 Remake, which is the story and the atmosphere and the characters and all that shit, and the feeling of walking around the town and all that shit. Most of that was in the original game, and they just kind of wholesale lifted it. So, as much as I did like that game, I feel like they still kind of do have a lot to prove as far as gameplay goes, and even as far as writing goes. Gears of Fear 1 was pretty cliche, generic. It's pretty cliche, generic shit. Like, you could pretty much tell where it was going within the first 20 minutes, and sure enough, that's where it ended. Something I got my eye on, I definitely have an interest in. I like any horror games that come out that actually have production, that actually have a budget. If it wasn't Blooper Team, though, I wouldn't even have remembered this game. It would have completely slipped my mind. So even though they might have latched onto a classic horror game success a little bit, they did it successfully, because I actually am interested in what they make now. So, and granted, again, they moved away from the walking simulator bullshit. That definitely played a significant role. So, next up, another indie game. The last indie game on the list, the last game I want to highlight, is Deadwire. Look, this looks like it's just a straight up Hotline Miami ripoff, but Hotline Miami is one of my favorite games of all time. So if it has badass music and the gameplay fucking kicks ass, that's all you need in a Hotline Miami clone. So look, if it comes out, as long as it's not like $50 or something ridiculous, I'll play it, dude. I love these games. There's not a lot of them that release, and I just love shit like this. So there's not really much else to say. It just looks fun, dude. It looks fun. It looks like out of a lot of the indie games that they showed that didn't have a big trailer for, that one stood out, at least to me. So look, overall, that was the last game I wanted to highlight. Obviously, there was a lot more other games, people can be excited for. There's a lot of anime shit. I'm not into the anime shit. Talk bad about people who do, but it's just not my thing. But hey, if you're into it, you're into it. I'm not gonna talk shit. I hate saying this, but I have to state the obvious. Of all the games I talked about, notice I didn't say anything about Gears, the new Gears of War game. They have a Gears of War remaster, a remaster, so it really ain't shit. Honestly, I wish they'd remaster Gears of War 2 and 3, because those were the games that I played when I was a kid, but whatever. At least that would have been something new. No Fable. Why is there no Fable? There's not a peep. And worst of all, and it's only worst of all, because they cock teased this shit. When they advertised their new handheld, look, you're gonna be able to play this game. Look, on launch, no Hollow Knight Silksong. No, look, I know. Look, well, it hasn't been released. Why'd you expect it now? Because they fucking showed it in their goddamn advertisement. You don't fucking cock tease a game that's hugely awaited and longly awaited like this, unless you have something to fucking say. That kind of fucking pissed me off. I'm not even gonna lie. I expected them, for sure, to announce it at some point in the show once they were cock teasing it and they're in their fucking their handheld device preview. I was expecting it, and then when they got to their last review, they're like, "Oh, we got one more thing." I was like, "Oh, okay, well, it has to be Silksong then, right? Or Fable or something. If it's not Fable or Gears, it has to be Silksong." They wouldn't just fucking cock tease it like that and not fucking actually show that shit, right? And they wouldn't just fucking have that shit there and not have any goddamn updates or any news on the game that we haven't had any goddamn updates or news on for like 2 to 3 years now, right? And then they revealed this. Now look, I love Black Ops. I'm not a Black Ops fanboy because I haven't played all of them. I've played them since 2012. I'll probably play Black Ops 7. But we already know this shit was coming. This is not something you end on. It's just a really stupid fucking game to end on. Big problem with this presentation, outside of Clockwork. Again, Clockwork doesn't have a release. But that was probably the only fucking big thing that they unveiled where I was like, holy shit. Oh, by the way, Perfect Dark. That's another one. Nothing. There wasn't anything where I was like, that looks fucking awesome. I can't fucking wait to play that shit. Really, they should have ended it on Clockwork. It's the reason why I can't say, yeah, this showcase was good. When the only games that you showcase that I have any interest in, and that a lot of other people have interest in, have no release dates, and a lot of it's just pre-rendered crap. You're not even showing that much for the games that people actually do want to know about, like Fable, like Gears, like Perfect Dark, like Silksong, like all these other fucking games that people are waiting for, and you don't have anything to say about. The showcase, for what it was alright. It's nice to have at least a few more games to look forward to, because I definitely got a few more games that I have to keep an eye on that I didn't know about, so it wasn't a complete wash. These games never are. Or these things never are, these presentations. I'm glad that we have kind of like a week in June. I know it's not E3, but it's kind of like a spiritual successor kind of thing. We have all these events that happen, and at least, you know, try to highlight new games for some people so that people that are trying to find new games to be excited for, new games to play, can find them. Steam does these with a lot of these, you know, Steam Next Fest and all this other stuff that they do. So I do like having these events, even though sometimes, like this year, I don't think they're the greatest. I still got something out of them, and even if, you know, there wasn't a whole lot you were excited for, I'm sure there was at least a couple games that you saw something about that you were excited about. So that's my opinion, that's my thoughts. I just wanted to get that shit out there. You know, if you agree with me, if you disagree, you think I'm full of shit, comment down below, tell me the games that you are excited for, the games that you're not excited for, whatever. You know, have your conversations in the comments. And if you like the video, subscribe. I don't know why you would, but you can. Until next time, this is Penguin signing off.